My testimony is a pretty standard evangelical testimony. I was brought up in an evangelical Christian home. My dad was a naval officer in the Korean War. My mom was a Canadian missionary in Japan, post-war Japan. And my dad met my mom in the course of the Korean War. And I was born in 1953 in San Diego. My dad left the Navy after the war and went to work for Officers Christian Union, now Officers Christian Fellowship. And so they were part of the post-war evangelical world, conservative evangelicalism, and we're very consistent Christians. When I was 4 years old, I was in a conversation with my mom and told her I wanted to become a Christian. And she explained the gospel to me, prayed with me. And the reason I know that, I have a vague recollection of it. I remember there was a tiled floor. We were in the basement. I remember there was a tiled floor. I remember that. But my mom wrote it down. She had this conversation with me, explained the gospel to me, and wrote it down. And I grew up knowing and believing that Jesus Christ is Lord. He rose from the dead. So that was never a question or up for grabs or anything like that. As I was growing up in evangelical circles, I grew up in a conservative Arminian, Southern Baptist world where invitations were given at the conclusion of every service. And if you grow up with that, you want to rededicate or make sure, or how could I possibly have known what I was doing when I was 4, you think when you were 10, that kind of thing. So I went back to check on that a number of times growing up. But basically, I was brought up by consistent Christians to love and honor Jesus Christ. So that would be the testimony. But and did what I thought was necessary to do in that experience growing up as a Christian evangelical kid. I joined the Navy when I was 17, and when I went into the Navy, I went off, left my home. The U.S. Navy, it may have changed since, but at the time it wasn't a bastion of righteousness. It wasn't set up to help young men with their Christian walk. And so when I left home and spent my hitch in the submarine service, it was at that time that I had to say, okay, this faith that I grew up with, it's got to be mine, or